I had a bit of a difficult time in school, so I'm dyslexic, dyspraxic, and autistic as well. So for anyone that knows, having all those kind of things while you're going through school life and teenage life is an absolute nightmare. And you sort of look for something like a passion or a hobby to sort of, occupy yourself and go all into, if you like. And for me, that was motorsport and kart racing at the time. I was lucky enough to win a scholarship through a company called the Blair Project that sort of paved the way for me to get into a career of racing. And I started to race at quite a high level where it got to the point of, right, we need to go and test on this day. Oh, but it's a school day. Oh, we need to go and travel to such and such an event, but it's a school day. So we had no option really but to try and get my school on board. And they did something really clever and sort of related and said, we're more than happy to give you this time off to go and pursue these other things. But while you're in school, you need to, one, actually show up, and two, take part in the lessons and engage and so on and so on. So then from that newfound passion, you like, of motorsport, the school started to relate my learning into motorsport. To put it simply, 2 + 2 would be 2 cars plus 2 cars and so on. But while I was at university, I started working at Team Karting part-time, which is obviously this place where I am now. The owners of the company sort of put it up for sale, and I was like, naive 19-year-old, oh, we can take that over, I can do that. Oh, how much is it? Oh, this amount, hundreds of thousands we're talking. So then I just sort of fell into it, I guess, knocking on the doors, trying to find investment and meeting the right people to make it happen. If you asked me in school, did I intend to go to university, I would have said no. At the time, I didn't really intend to go into college. I'm not academic in the slightest. So then for me to, have a career in a number of businesses in motorsport was just never even, something that considered it into my head. When everyone goes through that sort of stage in secondary school, it's like, right, you need to start thinking about a career, what options are you going to pick in school, so on and so on. My mum had me set that I was going to do something in like construction or joinery, something like a manual labour job, because I was that active. So that never happened. So it was just sort of something that I fell into, to be honest, just because I was passionate about it, and I never intended to take over Team Karting, but the opportunity presented itself and we took it with both hands, and then we've been able to sort of grow from there. So we've not just got the indoor karting track, we have a race team, our own national championship, and I now race myself as well, which is its own little career in its own little way. Blagging is my favourite word. Everyone's like, oh, you must work so hard, you must do X, Y, Z, you must be really lucky. I'm like, I'm winging it every single day. So in the karting industry now, certain people look up to me as an expert, if you like. So if a key decision's about to be made, or they want a key person's opinion, they go, oh, let's ask Matty. And the truth is, I've not got a clue what I'm talking about. It's just a gut instinct and a field of, experience that I'm able to sort of give my best judgment, and so far it's worked out okay. But from a business side, I never studied business courses at school or college. It was, I didn't know how to write a business plan. I didn't know how to make a cash flow. So in the early days, it was all about surrounding myself with people that had those kind of skills that I could learn from and take that from there. If people are going to get into business, it's always important to do it for the right reasons, because especially in the early days, the hours are long, the days are hard. You never get anything done that you actually want to because someone's thrown a curveball in there somewhere. So it's always really important to absolutely love and have a passion for what you're doing. Otherwise, you'd just give up too easily because it's not worth the hassle and the aggro, the stress that it can put you through. So in the early days, it was more excitement. Oh my God, look what we're going to be able to build. Look what we're going to be able to do. But then when you get the feet under the table, it's like, blimey, this is hard work. I didn't see this coming. Me and my business partner at the time, we're probably doing 80, 90 hours weeks for 6 months straight, But it can be really, really tough, but it was so worth it by the end of it. Being in the sport and leisure industry, every single one of my businesses is shut. We've not done 6 months worth of trading in, over 12 months now. And no business is meant to sort of survive being shut for that long. So it's quite difficult at the moment in terms of, how we're going to get through it, how we're going to reopen, are we going to have the staff to reopen, we're going to have a customer base, all those uncertainties and risks that are involved. But would I say this is the hardest time we've ever been through? No, actually, I don't think I would. When we first set up the business, it was a big learning curve quite quickly in terms of, right, it's not just a hobby anymore, it's a business. People are relying on me. We need to be aware of that in our decision-making process. And that was quite a tricky one to grasp. So we have a couple of staff that have worked here ever since the actual karting track first opened. And when I took over, we wanted to make a lot of changes purely because I could see the way other people were doing things and how we can improve. So we implemented a lot of change quite quickly. And one of my favourite lines from back then was, if someone said, "Why are we doing this?" it would be, "Because I said so." And that's like the worst thing you can do as sort of a leader or a boss or whatever you want to describe it as, "Because I said so" is the worst way to try and get a team on board and get them in and bought into your idea, if you like. And in the middle of COVID, because I'm so used to being full on and traveling and just fully immersed in work, I had a really bad time at the beginning of the lockdown because everything just stopped, and that didn't do great things for my mental health. So we ended up setting up a dessert shop called Extra Treats. So that got set up in the middle of the pandemic, which is doing quite well for itself at the minute. And then in October of 2020, we set up another business called X-Kart, which is our own brand of race karts that we sell nationally. Not only do I think it's sort of a social and corporate responsibility to be able to give back, it's more of a moral one as well. Like I said, I don't think I'd be in the position I am if someone didn't give me that chance to get into motorsport at the age I did and allowed me to flourish. So really, it's more of like a way of me saying, look, we want to be able to do the same thing, and this is how we can do it. For our indoor track, at one point, 8 out of the 10 people that were on our lap record board were either on the spectrum or had some kind of learning or social difficulty. So that sort of just goes to show how people might not be able to do certain things in a certain way, have skills and talents in other areas too. So it's about finding that and helping it flourish. With me being autistic on the spectrum, having a bunch of learning difficulties, I think it's always important, especially for secondary school kids and maybe younger, to sort of set higher expectations, because the amount of people that, let's say, when I first started racing, I said, I want to be a racing driver. And not intentionally, but the way teachers would then go, that's not realistic, aim lower. I think that's the wrong kind of mindset to have. It should be to encourage and build people and say, look what you can achieve with a bit of passion and some work ethic. So I do talks and presentations all over the country and quite a lot in Oldham and Rochdale as well, in terms of, yes, I am autistic. This is what I struggled with in school. This is what it was like for me. But this is what I'm now capable of doing. And this is what I do on a day-to-day basis. And that sort of positive message can relate quite well to kids that might not necessarily be engaged in school. But also for parents as well that have just had a diagnosis and are worried about, what their child's going to be able to do. I'm also very passionate about making motorsport more inclusive, more affordable, to get more people into the sport, to pursue their passion, hopefully, follow in my footsteps and do something similar. You say with autism, everyone has a superpower. And what they mean by a superpower is something that you're completely obsessed with. Some people, it might be brands of cars. Some people's it might be trains or dinosaurs or space. It can be anything. And for me, it was motorsport. So trying to get me to read a 300-page document in school or a book it was never going to happen. Wouldn't do it. Couldn't care less. But obviously for this place, the insurance documents and all that kind of stuff that have to be written and understood are ridiculous. But because it's about motorsport, I'll read it, I'll write it, I'll understand it, and it'll stick in my head. Being autistic on the spectrum, it's difficult to sort of engage socially. Like, say, with a football team, there's you and 10 other players on that pitch that you've got to interact with and socialise with. And don't get me wrong, motorsport is a massive team sport in the background with mechanics, engineers, coaches, all that kind of stuff. But the minute that a helmet goes on, it's just you and the car or you and the car, and you can be at one with the machine if you like. With motorsport, because you have a helmet on, it dilutes your hearing a little bit, and you've only got a small range of vision as well, so it really relaxes your senses. With Team Brit, which is the race team that I now race for, was certainly a highlight. Purely that's from a selfish point of view, I suppose. I get to say that I'm a racing driver, and it sounds quite cool. Winning a business award with the local authority was pretty cool. The recognition and the proud moments that you get in that respect were quite good. We did some research a year or two ago, and that concluded that we were the highest rated indoor karting track in the UK. So that was a proud moment as well. I'll be honest, there's so much going on all the time. It's really difficult to pinpoint one exact thing. Just because someone says you can't do something or you shouldn't do something doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't. When we first went to approach, setting up and buying a business, everyone's saying, you won't be able to do that. You're too young, half your staff are double the age of you, and all those kind of negative labels. Just because someone else wouldn't be willing to do it doesn't mean you can't do it and prove them wrong in a way. And then use that kind of motivation as your impact. They say that we can't do it, let's go prove them wrong.